Welcome to Giant Radio, where we're all about big ideas in sales and marketing and eye-popping discussions with successful entrepreneurs. Turn up the volume and settle in. Now, here's the founder of Giant Jacks Media and your host, Paul Hitchcock.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for jumping on Giant TV. I'm Paul Hitchcock, founder and president of Giant Jacks Media, and this is my channel where I have great people doing incredible things, and certainly Les Lent is one of them. Welcome, Les.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Les, obviously, for those out there, letting you know, Les is a Vistage Chair, amazing entrepreneur in the greater Sacramento market. And so, Les, I want to jump into exactly what you're doing, a little bit about your background, and love to hear it.
Sure. So this is all things Vistage, right? So I guess my background in the marketplace would be, I started out as a B2B sales professional very long time ago. Don't want to name dates, but it was a minute ago. And I really, really loved being a sales guy. It was especially in a B2B environment. I came up in an environment where I got to be an entrepreneur, right? I was 100% commission. I got to eat whatever I killed, and really found a calling there. Like so many other people that get into sales, I wound up transitioning from being a really good sales guy to being tapped to becoming a sales manager. Yeah. As I like to call it, I went from superstar to supervisor, and struggled with that for a little bit until I found my way, because being a sales leader is not the same as being a sales manager. And ultimately found some success doing that, sharpened up my business acumen. And then around 2009, during the last great hiccup in our economy, found myself looking for something different. I got laid off, basically, because everybody in the industry was losing work. Yep. And decided to go out on my own and take that entrepreneurial background and that ability to go out and generate revenue and make things happen, and started a consulting practice. Wow. The first thing I did was to affiliate or align myself with Vistage, because I needed to be around like-minded people that wanted to make a difference, wanted to make an impact. So I started marketing my business as a resource speaker for Vistage. So I would go out share my story with CEO groups across the country, and found a niche there and wound up growing my business that way.
I'll start doing a lot of talks around the country.
Correct. Yeah. And a couple of years into that, I really started to embrace the Vistage ecosystem, if you will. And I thought, well, why not become a member? So I wound up joining a trusted advisor group. And the result of being a member of a Vistage group really took my business to the next level. It took it from being a lifestyle business to a real business, a business that could scale and grow. And I really just embraced the entire Vistage concept, if you will. So started out as a speaker. I've done over 200 presentations across the country. The last 8 years I've been a member, and I've 2x'd my business basically 3 times as a result of being in a group and working on my business, in addition to working in my business, if that makes any sense at all.
It does. A lot of sense, yeah.
So fast forward 2025, here we are almost at the end of this year. As I was looking at my current business model and trying to figure out, okay, what's the next iteration of my business, or do I double down, or do I grow and scale? I thought, what else can I offer my clients? And somebody approached me about becoming a Vistage Chair, and said it made perfect sense.
Right.
The only difference is I don't have to get on an airplane.
Yeah.
Spread the word.
Difference. Right? Yeah.
So over the last couple of months, I've been growing a chief executive group here in the greater Sacramento market. And as a result, I've got to meet some really cool people that are right here in my own backyard doing really cool stuff.
Well, I want to ask you about that. So as you're building this group of chief executives, what type of a leader are you looking for, and what industry groups?
The first question I really like. The second question's easy. The first question is, what type of leader am I looking for?
Yeah.
There's a trait that I believe I have, and I really think almost every Vistage member I've ever met, and I've met thousands of them, literally thousands of them, and that trait is that they're mostly happy but they're rarely satisfied.
Ah, okay.
You're a happy guy. I'm a happy guy. We feel pretty good about, where we're at and what we're doing and all of those internal and external things. But we're not very often satisfied, right? Meaning I want more. I want more for myself. I want more for my company. I want more for my family. I want more for my customers. I want more for
Oh,
my customers' employees. Said another way, good enough isn't, right? So I don't want to impose that on you, but I've met you multiple times and we've had lots of conversations, and you strike me as being one of those guys that you're pretty happy, but are you always satisfied, or are you looking for that next thing that's going to advance your business? Does that make
you know,
sense?
oh, it makes a lot of sense, and it's an interesting comment. I've never heard it put that way, but so the leaders, yeah, I mean, I guess there are many types of leaders, and the ones you just described are growth oriented and not never satisfied. I think there's this kind of in their DNA a bit, and I think you said it well.
Yeah. And it really is tied to this thing that I think is really a responsibility for all leaders. And I'm happy to share this story. I want to withhold the name of the business, but the two things that leaders that are driving companies, that have employees, that have customers, there's two things that they have a responsibility to understand, and that's they have they have to meet their potential. I don't care about a company's goals. I don't care about salespeople's goals. Goals are these like random targets that people throw out there, and oftentimes a goal is just a number that's imposed on somebody by somebody else.
Yep, yep,
I'm more interested in helping people meet their potential because personally, I believe that people's goals tend to be set right about here, but our potential is usually significantly more than that. So that's the
hmm
goal of a leader, is to help its company, help its people, and help themselves meet their own potential. The other thing that I think they have a responsibility to be aware of is the impact that they have on their local community, on their customer base, on their employees, and all the people associated with those groups, right? So every decision they make is going to have an impact, good or bad. Every decision that they don't make, or every decision that they avoid making, has the ability and the possibility of having an impact on the people that work for them, on the people that report to them, on their families, on their customers and their
yeah,
customers' families,
yeah,
right? That's the whole
yeah.
thing about being a leader, is the potential and impact. And for those leaders who are happy but rarely satisfied, they get that.
Yeah.
That's the type of member I'm looking for in terms of how they think, how they feel, how they go to market. The second part of your question,
Yeah,
what industries?
yeah,
Well, one of the beauties of Vistage is that we meet as a group confidentially. So what stays there, what happens there, what's said there stays there, but it has to be in a non-competitive environment. So I've got members currently that are in construction, engineering, home services, professional services. There's really no industry that's off limits. I'm actively pursuing two or three different organizations right now that are technically nonprofit, and by nonprofit, that's their tax status, not their business model. But
yes.
uh, as long as there's no conflict within members of the group, it doesn't really matter what industry they're in.
But the size of the company
The
matters,
size of the
right?
company, the demographic, yeah, we're, ideally for a good fit for a CE group would be somebody who's running a team of, at least 15 to 20 full-time employees, revenues probably in excess of 5 to 10 million,
hmm
going all the way up to enterprise size accounts.
Well, so I want to ask you this. When you have this group, what is your role exactly? And how do you think these CEOs view you, as one of them, as some different way they view you? Like how do you show up?
That's a great question. The short answer is, as a chair, I'm a facilitator.
Right.
That's the most generic term that I could think of. So my job is to bring value to the members during their monthly meetings by finding resource speakers or subject matter experts that have information that's relevant and up to date, right? Because those two things don't always go hand in hand. And what I mean by that is most of the people in the group are looking for that information on that particular subject at that particular time. So
Yeah, because you're meeting once a month.
once a month for a full day, right? So
Yeah.
3 hours is typically devoted towards a subject matter expert or what would be called a resource speaker. I did that and still continue to do that. My topic happens to be around sales as a process and sales leadership as a process. So I get brought in by other chairs to talk to their group because that particular topic is relevant and topical to that group at that point in time. So that's part of my job. The other part of my job is to help the members process issues that they have that they can't take anywhere else, right? So how do they attract and retain top talent, right? That sounds like a fairly generic topic. And on the surface, it is. But when they get into the nitty gritty, where are they going to go to get information? They're going to go within their own circle. Or they can't lean on their own employees to figure it out. So my job is not to be the smartest person in the room. I'll never be the smartest person in the room. My job is to recognize and facilitate that everybody in the room collectively is smarter than any one single person in the room. So, for example, our last meeting, one of our newer members had an issue with a key employee and wasn't sure what to do. They thought they knew what needed to be done, but they really didn't have a clear path to get it done. I didn't know what the answer to that was, but using Vistage's process of issue processing and tapping into the subject matter expertise and the knowledge of all the other members in that group, we were able to help that member find the right path to solve that particular challenge or problem. That's the real role of a chair. And it gets done primarily in that group setting, that full day meeting. But one of the added benefits is having one-to-one conversations once a month with me as a chair, where I'm not giving anybody the answers to their problems. I'm just questioning their answers.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that. So the one-to-ones outside of the monthly meetings, are you going to the location of the member? Are you doing it on Zoom? Like, how do you conduct your one-to-ones?
It's kind of a combination of the two, right? Whatever makes the thing that's most important is that they happen.
Oh, yeah.
So if making it happen means that we've got to do it virtually, that's what gets done. And those tend to be very effective because we already have a relationship. We're doing it via Zoom or Teams. So we're getting that face-to-face connection. There's a guided process that we use. So it's not just a chit chat or a BS session. And typically once a quarter, I like to meet them where they're at. I like to meet them in their place of business because it gives me an opportunity to see what the environment looks like that they're in. Neither one of those are necessary. Being off campus is quite helpful as well. And again, the goal is, I don't care if they get done face to face. I don't care if they get done in a Starbucks or their place of business or virtually, as long as they get done.
They get done. And it seems like that one-to-one also is accountability both ways, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because people wander. You don't have accountability. People wander. Stuff does not get done. Would you say that's a fair way also to describe that?
Absolutely.
Accountability meeting, yeah.
Absolutely. And typically the way I'd like to structure them is to get in front of each one of my members in a one-to-one in the week or two leading up to our group meeting, because those conversations with those 8 to 10 individuals on a one-to-one basis give me a sense of what the most burning issues of the day are for everybody in the group. So when we get together as a collective group, I've got some sense of how to prioritize the conversation when we get into the executive session.
Yeah. What brings you the most gratification with the Vistage practice like that? Is it? I mean, I could think of so many things. I'm not even gonna. I'll just let you answer. Like,
just making a difference, knowing that I helped somebody take action. The one thing that I value more than anything, whether it's a member from Vistage or one of my actual clients, whether I'm doing consulting, coaching, or training, I value action more than anything else. So if I can inspire, I can't motivate anybody to do anything, right? Yeah. Motivation literally means motive to take action. I can help them find their own motive to take action. I can inspire them to take action, and I can point them towards a logical action to take based on best practices or, what I've gleaned through my years of experience, or just getting them to admit, yeah, I need to take action on it. When I see somebody take action and there's some tangible result, that to me is incredibly satisfying, because that's what's going to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's going to help them meet their potential, and that's what's going to help them have a positive impact on their little community. And it's a big deal. I guess if I could, I'd love to share with you kind of the real motivation for taking on this next chapter in my career as a Vistage Chair. I shared with you offline, I've got 2 adult children, right? They're fully launched, off the payroll, doing their thing, buying houses, contributing to society. I won parenting, right? Because I raised 2 kids that aren't a burden to society.
Yes.
About 10 years ago or so, when one of my kids was going through college and, trying to carve their own path, and they were, on their second or third job, not a career, I started to notice this trend, and I noticed it with both my kids. They go out into the world and they get a job, and regardless of what the job was, their satisfaction within the job was not really great. So when I go, hey, how things going at work at, whatever company they happen to be working at the time, they go, well, it's okay, but it kind of, it wasn't satisfying to them at all. And as a parent, that had an impact on me.
Absolutely.
Like, oh man, how do I help them get through this? Right. And then one day, I'm talking to one of my kids, my son, and he had been on a new job. He was still in college at the time, but he had started this job, and it was not a glamorous job. It was a job in hospitality and retail. And by not glamorous, I mean it included a mop and rubber gloves.
I've been there.
Yeah. It's a paying your dues job kind of environment. And I didn't have any expectation that he was going to love this job. It just paid well. And it filled a need at the time while he was putting himself through school. And I'm talking to him on the phone one day, and I said, hey, how's it going, Ed? This new job? And he goes, it's really cool. I like it. And I'm like, huh, well, what is it about you, this job that you like? And he goes, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's just got this different vibe. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. He's mopping, he's doing dishes and cleaning up messes, and it's one of those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple of weeks later, I'm talking to him again, and we're talking about whatever, and I said, so you still liking your job? And he goes, yeah, you're never going to believe what just happened to me. I'm like, what? And he goes, I'm back in the back and I'm mopping the floor, and this guy walks up to me and he said, hey, are you Tyler? My son's name is Tyler. He goes, are you Tyler? And he said, yeah. And he goes, my name is, and he introduced himself. He goes, I'm the CEO of the company. Just wanted to say hi and say, great job. I hear you're really doing well here. That was it. And he left. My son went out of his way to tell me that story because he had never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to say the name of the company because it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a local company, very high profile, and in a very competitive environment. If I told you who it was, you'd go, oh, I know those guys. Mm-hmm. And you could name immediately a dozen competitors of theirs that are in the same space.
Yeah.
But those dozen competitors don't have an environment like that because the CEO and the leadership and the culture of that company, they know that it's those little teeny tiny things that help people meet their potential and have a huge impact. As a father of a late teen, early 20-something-year-old kid that's mopping floors and making a little bit more than minimum wage, to say, yeah, I really like coming here.
Yeah.
That's the type of leader that I'm looking for to be in my groups, because that's the type of impact that I want to help those leaders make with their employees and their customers. Anyway.
Great story. Great story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Captivating, because I was having that discussion with one of my kids yesterday, the whole career thing. So very interesting what you just said. Good stuff, Wes. And, you've got openings now, obviously for your group,
Yeah.
and I want to tell everyone watching this, wherever you're watching this, because we simulcast this everywhere. Les's information will be around this. Get connected to them. But Les, how does it work? If someone wants to understand more about what you're doing, is it get on a Zoom call?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We start with a 5 to 10 minute introduction call. Just make sure it seems like a good fit, because it's not just about making sure that they're the right demographic and size company. It's also about making sure that I'm a good fit for them and they're a good fit for me.
Yeah.
If that goes well, we schedule a 30-minute Zoom call, or it can be done face to face. That 30-minute call we call them an information exchange, where I share information about Vistage. They share information about them and their company in a confidential manner. And if it makes sense at the end of that call, we have one last call that's called a selection interview, where we go through this process. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes. It can be, ideally, I like doing these face to face, either at their place of business or somewhere off campus. It can be done virtually, but ideally it's face to face.
Yeah.
And that's where they get a taste of what it's like to get some coaching from me on a one-to-one basis, and really a chance for them it's called a selection interview because they need to select me and I need to select them.
Right. Yeah.
And typically if we make it to that point, sorry about that. If we make it to that point, it's pretty close to being a good fit. So it's a pretty simple process. It only takes, less than a week to navigate those three things: introduction call, 5 to 10 minutes, information exchange at 30 minutes. And then if it makes sense to move forward, we do that selection interview face to face for about an hour.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Les, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on here. I know we'll be talking again, so thanks.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I really appreciate the time, Paul.
All right.